Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me an opportunity to comment on the speech by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, from the onset, I have to say I must congratulate the President for recognizing the late Kenneth Matiba for having given his life for patriotism. This is something that I hope that this country, and particularly the present administration, will go out and look for all those people who go through pain, who give up a lot for the sake of this country called Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, I know there are people, the Mau Mau, people who fought for this country that were never recognized. Mr. Speaker, sir, I know that there are Maasais out there who also fought hard for the sake of this country, but they're never recognized. Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope that the President, having taken the time and sought for forgiveness, because it was evident certain administrations really hurt the late Honorable Kenneth Matiba. And I hope that having chosen to begin what I actually called the President's first address to Parliament, because you remember during the first address, some of us were resisting. This was the time that we actually sat there and listened to the President. Mr. Speaker, sir.
Order, Senator.
I now move.
Order, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker,
Let's
sir.
say that was your first.
That was mine,
Your
Mr.
first
Speaker, sir.
Attendance.
That was my first attendance, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Proceed.
I actually want to correct that. That was mine, and I'm sure I'll be speaking on behalf of some of us who are not here.
Anything else
That
is
notwithstanding,
controversial. Anything else is controversial.
All right, thanks, Mr. Speaker, sir. That notwithstanding, Mr. Speaker, sir, I now move to the content of the President's speech. And I look at his first comment on looking at the achievements of the 11th Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I congratulate the President for having mentioned that the 11th Parliament was indeed the Parliament which was tasked to implement this new constitutional dispensation. And the question that I ask, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that have we really fully implemented? Did the first or the 11th Parliament fully implement the Constitution? I know we still have challenges, and this is what I hope that this Senate will take those things seriously, Mr. Speaker, sir, in terms of ensuring that we fight for devolution. Mr. Speaker, sir, I know that during the transitioning authority, there are so many counties which did not declare all their assets and liabilities. I know this function has now been passed over to the Intergovernmental Agency, and I do hope that even though this was a task given to the 11th Parliament, that this Senate will actually keep these counties on toes to ensure that all assets and liability and all counties actually account for all their assets and liabilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, I move to the other part of the President's speech when he talked about the support that his government has given devolution. It is true, and I agree with the President when he said that devolution is not now a baby. Since now devolution has grown, and we can actually, maybe with a lack of a better word, I could probably say it's now a teenager or an adult, I think, Mr. Speaker, sir, it would be right for me to say that this Senate should now push for more resources to go into counties. Speaking of corruption, which the President spoke about, you know, I agree that every one of us in this country admit that corruption is a cancer which is tearing us apart. A cancer that in this country, I doubt, being very open and honest about it, I doubt we'll ever find a cure for it. Unless, and from listening to the President, I thought he said he is now ready to fully act on this issue called corruption. I'll be very happy, Mr. Speaker, sir, when the president actually punishes people, you know, those people who are untouchable. We see a lot of things going on. I mean, the media is awash with news of hooligans going in there and attacking people. I mean, someone who is the head of a business community going out there and attacking. That is corruption. Corruption is not only taking the money, but corruption is actually using your authority to be able to demean, or rather to destroy the freedom of others. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope that with the new legislation that we are coming up with, in terms of public participation, it will help Kenyans now participate fully in this issue of corruption. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to take this opportunity to say that I do have a bill which I hope will be coming soon for the first reading, which is a county oversight bill that calls for the people on the ground to be part of the budget-making process, for them to be able to understand how their money is utilized on a daily basis. Mr. Speaker, sir, this corruption will not be solved by His Excellency the President on his own. This is a responsibility for all of us as legislators, for all of us as Kenyans, to be able to say no, that we want to have a better life. Mr. Speaker, sir, I get into the second point where I'm actually baffled to see this statement by the President. And I will not only keep quiet, because I want the President to actually explain. When you look at number 17, the President talked about 2 billion shillings having been dispersed to 11 counties for equalization fund. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm from Narok, and there's not a penny on equalization fund that has been sent to Narok. I remember clearly, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I think 2 weeks ago is when the bill was signed. Then how is it that this 2 billion shillings has been dispensed and from Narok County? This money is not there. Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't know whether it is the person who wrote the speech that wrote that in anticipation that this money will be dispensed. But to come and tell the public that this money has been dispensed, I want to challenge and I want to really encourage that the President should take note on this and ensure that if indeed that money was dispensed, Narok County is among those 11 counties. And why is it that those counties don't have that money? On another issue, I know during the devolution conference, we talked about this Huduma Mashinani. I want to encourage that this administration encourages Kenyans to be able to take the opportunity to register for this NHIF, and I think all legislators should be able to help Kenyans because healthcare. Earlier on, we were talking about a petition by citizens of West Pokot, talking about dilapidated health facilities, Mr. Speaker, sir. I think it is important for the people of West Pokot, first of all, and the legislators from that area, and the senator from that area, to ensure that at least this issue of Huduma Mashinani, if it is indeed there, that all citizens of that county have registered so that they can be able to afford health care. On another issue, Mr. Speaker, sir, which I want to comment on what the President said, in the issue of using public funds, public resources. I know most of us travel. And recently, when I traveled to Australia, I was actually really, really impressed. And subsequent with my meetings with the High Commissioner from Australia, I learned quite a lot that accountability is key to development. Accountability is key to success. That whereby, when you're even given a cup, or maybe you're giving a bottle of wine, this is a bottle of water, the first thing you need to find out is that how much does this really cost? If it costs more than $200, you have to pay back the government of Australia $100. Because as a public person, you're only supposed to be gifted for up to $100. This is something that when the President says that those days when people could just enjoy public funds and not account for them, if it really means what he said, I think it should start from us as legislators. We should be looking at taking responsibility. When we travel abroad on official duty, if we're given a gift, I know there's a law that exists in that nature. That gift is not our own personal gift. That gift belongs to the people of Kenya. Because when we travel there, we use taxpayers' money. Mr. Speaker, sir, I get into the issue of the economy. I want to congratulate the Kenyans because despite our differences, we have such a resilient economy. To having grown at a rate of 4.9% is highly commendable. And I want to encourage that the more we create a better environment for economy, we should not only be looking at Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, sir. I want to imagine that every county, out of the 47 counties that we are fighting to hold them fully, should now be looking at ways of attracting more investments. Coming into the issue of the Big Four agenda, Mr. Speaker, sir, I go back and reiterate on the issue of healthcare. And being equally informed by the petition that was presented to this House on the state of our healthcare facilities. I know today, if citizens knew that they can actually petition this Senate on issues of, service delivery, we may not be able, we may have a second problem. The first problem we have, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the issue of statements in this House. The second issue we'll have is when citizens recognize their right and now begin to petition this House. Because, yes, healthcare is a fundamental right, and I congratulate the President for recognizing that and putting it as one of his key agendas in transforming this nation. I don't want to be 70 years old. God, I hope he gives me those years, knock on wood. And I cannot even be able to go to my local hospital in Narok. I want the people of Narok to recognize the time that I'm here. So I want to encourage as legislators, my fellow colleagues, that we should not only react to that petition. I think it behooves us to be able to go visit our healthcare facilities. The people of Narok today send me pictures. I think they probably heard about this petition. They send me pictures of the dilapidated healthcare facility in Narok. No medicine. Mr. Speaker, sir, the only way we can be able to really support the President with his Big Four agenda is by us going to our rural areas. And I thank the President for really recognizing the important role that the senators play in terms of ensuring that our oversight budget is put in the current budget for us to be able to actually go and see this. On the other issue of the Big Four agenda, Mr. Speaker, sir, which I hope that I'll have enough time to comment on, is on this issue of housing. It is imperative that before any houses are built, we have to plan out, Mr. Speaker, sir. We have to ensure that there is adequate water. We have to ensure that there is a school there. We don't want a situation whereby we have millions of houses mushrooming in this country, where maybe a few people benefit for developing them, but we actually totally ignore the other services which are critical. If you go to some suburbs here in Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, sir, you may find a beautiful house constructed, but seldom does that property have water. Seldom does that property have electricity because of the way we concentrate so many developments in one area. Mr. Speaker, sir, on that issue of the housing, I want to encourage Kenyans, young Kenyans. We talk about the issues of unemployment, which is one of the things that Senator Dulo actually spoke about. I think it behooves us now as senators to be able to go out and educate our counties, maybe help our county assemblies develop their capacity so that we can be able to register companies for our youth who are graduating, for them to set up companies. We don't want a situation whereby this government is going to achieve one of its main key, the basic of housing, by importing labor, by importing everything from outside, Mr. Speaker, sir. We've got a lot of quarries here. We've got a lot of natural resources here. I think it is now up to us and this government to ensure that at least 60% of those jobs or those tenders in housing are given to companies which are either looking at people with disabilities or the youth in this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, on the other issue, now that I see my time is running up, I wish I really had more time, is that I want to comment on the issue of the handshake. Although, Mr. Speaker, sir, I have to admit that we as Kenyans suffer from two things. One, selective amnesia. Number two is we are so gullible. I want to be on record by saying, Mr. Speaker, sir, that yes, we will forgive, but we will not forget. We will not forget. And I hope that with this handshake, the families of those people who lost their loved ones will be compensated fully. I hope that the father of Samantha Pedo will be given an opportunity. I hope that the president will go there and apologize. I hope that the Right Honorable Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, will go there and apologize to the father of Samantha Pedo, a 9-year-old, a 6-month-old baby who was just killed. Really? And I hope that as Kenyans, we have learned. So let us take this opportunity for this handshake, not only to say, okay, fine, yeah, let us forget, but to learn from our mistake. Let us not continue to be gullible. I mean, seriously? I mean, every 5 years. And I hope that the team which was set up is not just going to be a team of retired, eminent personalities, but is actually also going to include the youth and give them an opportunity to be heard and talk about the problems that we have in this country. We cannot run away from the problems we have in this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, I want to thank the President for recognizing the work that the men and women in uniform of this country do for us. The relationship with our other neighboring countries like Somalia. I will be remiss not to mention and to send my condolences to the families of the 9 soldiers, people who have given their life, their time to defend, or rather to safeguard, to give me my freedom, for me to be able to move. I hope that we will be able to give those soldiers state funerals. I hope we will be able to recognize them. And by so doing, Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope that we can be able to improve on not only their remunerations or their welfare, looking into their welfare, but we'll also be able to recognize the effort they have done, reward them for what they have done, so that the young people growing up who will be given an opportunity to serve this country outside, to defend us, will do so, knowing that they are doing so to a country that recognizes their effort. Thank you.